Well, hello there. How are you? I've just been back from a beautiful, beautiful classic cars rally, but this picture is not from there, and this is actually a topic for quite another story. And today I wanted to share an experiment that I did some time ago. You know, I keep saying, know thy camera. And I know mine. I really do think I do know my camera, perhaps even up to a fault, because if you asked me how to change some settings, I would probably not know how to answer for the life of mine, unless I had this camera in my head. And even then, I would probably not know, like consciously know how to do it. It would just be my fingers doing it. Like PIN number to your debit card. You don't really know it. Once asked, you would probably hesitate and make mistakes. It is your fingers that know it. And so do mine know my camera and play with it almost telepathically when on a shoot. Yet I still cannot over exaggerate how important it is for me to know my equipment. I'm on the most parts having an attitude of not overthinking stuff. This analysis paralysis state, don't you? Everybody does, I think. But on occasions, I really love me a good deep dive to some technicalities. Thanks to that, I can have a little bit more insight to what is actually happening when I press the shutter. And knowledge cannot actually hurt you, can it? At least when it comes to your craft, it cannot really. Actually, it can. Um, when insufficient. But this is a topic for a totally different story time. So, have you heard it? Sorry, this was my dog, Olsenek. I guess some other dog has got the audacity to walk past our window. Yeah. Let's go back to the story, shall we? So, this one beautiful September afternoon, we took our classic car, which is Syrena, a very, very recognizable Polish classic car. So we took her and the whole bag of photo equipment and drove to this nice secluded location no one cares about, you can tell, to have some peace and do some tests. Most of the tests were about focal length difference, which is at length described in another video. I'll get it linked somewhere. However, one of the tests was including the same focal length, this one, but with different lenses. Yeah. Let's have it lined up. Yeah. I'm fortunate to own 3 lenses with the same focal length, 105. This is my favorite and the best lens of all times, Sigma Prime 105 1.4, and this is the one I have actually owned for the longest time. It is also a Sigma, but this one is macro 2.8, and this one is zoom actually. Sorry. This is a Nikkor zoom, one of only 2 zooms in my possession. However, I actually do treat it like a prime. Being a fixed lens speed of 2.8, I almost never turn it down from its longest 200 millimeters. For this test, however, I turned it temporarily to 105 millimeters for the sake of experiment. So here you have all three images. All were taken with aperture 2.8 because obviously it was the widest I could get with all three. All were taken with the lowest possible ISO or ISO, whatever, which is 64 for my Nikon D850. All were taken with auto white balance. Why? First, because this is what I actually usually do while on a planar shoot. And besides, this is what this test was actually more or less all about, as you'll see in a minute. Yeah, all were taken with aperture priority settings because of the different lens speed. And I was pretty sure that the camera would assign different shutter speeds for each of them, which actually did not happen as I imagined. Because let's just do it like that so that you could see. So for Sigma Prime, the camera appointed shutter speed was 1/100th of a second, and the same was true for the zoom lens. And then for the micro lens, being actually a prime as well, it was 1/60th of a second. So this is one of the differences you need to have in mind while choosing the lens for shooting in different conditions. Now I have tested since I know full well, but actually I have had my suspicions earlier, that this micro lens is actually the darkest in a way of the three. Darkest, I mean, it needs more light to perform, even though it's 2.8, just like the zoom lens is. Therefore, I should not use it outside of well-controlled conditions, which means either a tripod situation like this one, or a studio, or you absolutely need it since you're when you're shooting bucks on a meadow or bees or whatever, understandable, it's a micro lens. However, I always believe that Sigma Prime would require this one. Sigma Prime Y 1.4 would require less light than this one, the zoom. And it appeared it's not the case. So this is one thing good to know. Now, let us talk a little bit about other differences. And there is one that really stands out. Just let me show you again. And this is the white balance. So please do keep in mind that all three pictures were taken within minutes. I mean minutes. It was the same day, the same situation, the same span of the whole exercise was 3 minutes, like the time that you need to change lenses, and that's all, like 3 minutes in total, really. So it was actually impossible for the sun to be changing so noticeably. Yet the white balance on all three is dramatically different. And let me just show you. This one, the Sigma Prime, is 3000, what have I just said? 4350 Kelvin. The micro is 350 Kelvin, and the zoom lens is almost 5,000, 4,850 Kelvin. Like, why? just why? How is it possible? The only variable was the lens itself. The settings on the camera were the same. Like, everything was literally the same. Have I chosen to dial the Kelvin white balance, I would most certainly end up with 3 identical pictures, wouldn't I? Let's find out. So, how about actually making a custom, like so? Oh gosh, it is so cold now. Let's do it the proper way. Yeah, so you need to, dial down a little bit because you've got those fringes. Oh, it's not a white balance. It's not the white balance story, is it? All right, this is more or less the same. We've got all those 3 selected. Let's sync settings, white balance, synchronize. All set and done. Now, how about the comparison? Yeah, they're much more alike each other now. Surely, but even now you can tell that there is a subtle difference between them. The micro lens, this one, still appears to be the coldest of the bunch. You see the car color being devoid almost completely of yellow tone. And the same about the viaduct structure behind it, and the gravel underneath, very, very cool tones to it all. You can hear you've got a little bit of green, which is even bluish. Yeah, so it was a beautiful September golden hour. There was loads of yellow in the air, I assure you. So let's move on. You can tell that the Nikkor zoom, even with this temperature, dialed down, it still is the warmest of the bunch, adding perhaps even too much yellow to the overall image. I would argue that the nicest image is this one, from the Sigma Prime. It maintains the best balance between warm and cool tones, and actually it makes the car stand out a bit more than the other two, depicting it in a slightly more 3D fashion. Or maybe I'm just biased, but I really think it is. Yeah, so this gets us to the image quality. So, white balance, colors, color grading, all that wonderful editing stuff, you can fix in post. I mean, you can edit that up to your liking. You can actually achieve the desired outcome with enough patience, trial and error, regardless the lens, out of those 3 at least. Had I had the patience to, tweak the white balance and the colors and the shadow tint and all that wonderful stuff, I could probably end up with 3 identical pictures. I'm pretty sure of that. But there is something very subtle, something not tangible really, that some lenses do give you and some fail to give you. And that is the look, the overall expression, the feel, if you like. And if I really, really look closely at all those 3, I know that the one that I would not really like to hang on my wall is this one, the micro one. It gives me that laboratory feel, the cold, like fridge-like expression that makes me feel as if I was looking at a technical study and not a pleasant image. I dare not call it art. Yeah, but anyways, now, would I notice it had I not done this test and had all three in one line? Probably not. So sometimes you shouldn't overthink it. You just take the lens you have and do your job, edit you to your liking, and you're golden. But that's why you do your tests, don't you? So let's just acknowledge what we've just received, and yeah, let's move on. Deleting this one. Not really deleting, just taking it off the view. So now we have the two, Sigma Prime and Nikkor Zoom. You know which one is which, right? This is the Sigma Prime and this is the Nikkor Zoom. Right, one is cooler, the left one. One is warmer, the right one. But apart from that, just what do you feel? What do you feel while looking at those photos? Yeah, just take it like that, and just let's take a close up. Give it a minute, and actually it switched so that it didn't make it make it a little bit more difficult for us. Yeah, so now we still have this Sigma Prime in here and a little bit warmer Nikkor Zoom on the right. So yeah, you can tell that actually Sigma is a tad sharper. This is perhaps what makes the Zoom one, this one, more dreamy, less obvious. However, this tendency of the Zoom to be less accurate, because it is a solid tendency I have been observing ever since I got this lens a couple of years back. It also is a feature in conjunction with its warmer tone that makes it a great tool for emulating this a little bit surreal, fantastic, sometimes even dream-like scenery. However, there is a price, and this price is sharpness of your photo, which is not to say that this zoom is soapy and not sharp. It just means, like for most zooms, it cannot achieve its sharpest point straight from the wide open. And 2.8 is not that wide really when it comes to portraiture, and any image really when you need this shallow depth of field. And there is no better accuracy than the one you can get with Sigma. This one. It is just beyond fault, sharp as a katana, right from the wide open. And there is not much you can ask above 1.4, is it? It translates to like literally centimeters of depth of field. And just take a look, because I do have this one right here, which is shot wide open, 1.5, 1.4. Yeah, right. You see, as sharp as the other one. And yet it's got this very, very shallow depth of field to it. So let's now compare those. Yeah, so this is Sigma Prime 105 wide open. Then the aperture 2.8, And the last photo, the Nikkor zoom. Yeah, I cannot really explain it with words, but the first image is, three-dimensional. It's three-dimensional above the other two, and it just feels like an invitation to another world, the world of soft, warm light and creamy shadows. And this is the one I would actually hang on my wall. After editing, of course. Yeah. So I took the liberty to edit it. Yeah. So this is how it looks after my editing. So, what do you think? Right, now, just for the sake of the argument, let's take a look at this photo. Now, this is the same Nikkor zoom 70-200, 2.8, with aperture 2.8, but actually with the focal length of the longest as it can get, 200 millimeters. So I could obviously be more, I could move further away from the car to achieve this beautiful compression, which instantly gives you so much three-dimensionality and overall depth to this picture. This one also comes with a sharpness penalty, of course. So let's just compare those two. Yeah. So this is sigma prime, wide open, 1.4, which is bunkers really. There are very few lenses that are so sharp right from the wide open. And this is the zoom lens. So you can actually see, let's just go above 100. Yeah, so that you can really see it. This is above, look, it is 200% above 200%. This, yeah. So this one is not sharp either in this sort of magnification, but you can tell full well that this one is soapy compared to this one. Yeah. Let's not change places so that you do not get confused. Right. So you have this compression. Now you can tell very well the difference in compression between the two. You have this dreamlike quality. You have the warmth, perhaps too much of it even, at the cost of sharpness. The question is, am I willing to take this trade-off? Let's go to some conclusions, shall we? If there are any. So, conclusion would be the most subjective opinion on earth. Everybody's to his or her own. And my own personal conclusion is that Nikkor zoom does give you that compression that is unlike anything your eyes could ever give you. It shows you the world around in a way that is magical and makes you feel that everything around is a wonderland. However, 105 millimeters, 105 millimeters, 1.4 prime lens, yeah, especially with the aperture dialed to its widest, gives you the image that really feels like the door to another world. You no longer feel as a humble observant, mesmerized yet detached from what you're looking at. You feel invited to cross the line, to enter the world of wonder and charm and light and magic spells hidden in the haze. Those are the edited versions. On the left, you've got 200 middle focal length, and on the right you've got 105 millimeters, 1.4. Which one is my favorite? Both. They're just a bit different, but I love them both. And which one is your favorite? Thank you for your time. And I wish you lots of joy taking your photos.